There's a smell that tells an experienced grower the whole story before they even look inside the bag. Sour, a little like wet cardboard left in a damp basement, with a sharp edge underneath. The second it hits you, you already know. The block is dead. You open it up, and there it is. A creeping bloom of green dust, spreading across what was, just a few days ago, a flawless sheet of solid white mycelium. Weeks of patience. And the $20 you spent on the kit, gone. But this is the part that really messes with new growers. That block did not get sick the day it turned green. It was already finished days earlier, in one quiet, ordinary moment that felt completely harmless. Probably while the grower was being gentle and careful and doing everything the kit instructions told him to do. Welcome to the mushroom archive. That's the cruel little secret of week 1. Most first grows don't die during the grow. They die during the setup, silently, with 0 symptoms. And the bill doesn't arrive until week 2, when the green shows up, and it's already too late. So let me walk you through what usually goes wrong in those first 7 days, because I've watched people sabotage a perfectly healthy block before it had a chance, and almost every time they had no idea. Mistake number 1 is starting before your space is actually ready. The kit arrives, you're excited, and you set it up wherever there's a free surface. Usually that's the kitchen counter, because that's where the open space is. The reason this happens is simple. You're treating it like a houseplant, something you can just plop down and water. But a kitchen is one of the worst spots in your home. You're cooking, which throws particles into the air, your food waste is nearby, and the airflow never stops. So flip it around. Before the kit even shows up, pick a low-traffic, dark, stable corner. A closet, a spare room, the bottom of a quiet cabinet. Wipe it down and set the block there from day 1 so you're not carrying it around. The thing most guides skip over is that airborne mold spores ride on moving air, which means the busiest, breeziest spot in your home is also the riskiest. The mushroom is not a houseplant. You're managing a tiny climate, and where you put it is the first climate decision you make.
Which brings me to the mistake that quietly ruins more shrooms than anything else. Mistake number 2 is poor hygiene when you handle the kit, the grain bag, or the substrate. I once watched a friend open a fresh grain bag right after petting his dog, standing in front of a box fan, chatting away over the open bag. Everything looked clean. That's exactly the trap. The threat is invisible, so your brain decides it isn't there. In real life, this shows up as a perfectly white block that turned green a week later for no reason you can see. The fix starts before you touch anything. Wash your hands, wipe your surfaces and your tools with 70% isopropyl alcohol, and ideally wear gloves. Then, when you actually open the bag, do it in still air, with the windows shut and every fan off, and keep it open for as little time as you can. Now, this is where people get caught. Cleaning and sanitizing are not the same step. Cleaning physically wipes away dirt and debris. Sanitizing reduces the living microbes that cleaning leaves behind. You need both in that order, because alcohol works far better on a surface that's already been wiped clean. Now, this next one looks like bad luck, but it's almost always a timing error. Mistake number 3 is confusing colonization conditions with fruiting conditions, and these 2 stages want opposite things. Colonization is when the white mycelium is eating its way through the substrate. It wants warmth, darkness, a sealed environment, and it's perfectly happy with the higher carbon dioxide trapped inside the bag. Fruiting is the opposite. That's when you want fresh air, high humidity, and light. The classic beginner move is to get impatient, cut the bag open, and start misting and fanning a block that's only half colonized. Psychologically, it makes sense. You want to see mushrooms, so you rush toward the mushroom stage. But opening early invites contamination into a block that hasn't finished defending itself, and it can stall the colonization completely. What almost nobody mentions is that the mycelium actually reads that trapped carbon dioxide as a signal that it's still underground and should keep spreading. So let it. Wait until the block is solid, white, and firm before you change a single thing. Penn State and University Extension guides are clear on this. Full colonization first, fruiting conditions second. Once you do flip to fruiting, you run straight into mistake number 4, which is over-misting or under-misting. This one is pure overcorrection. You love this little block, so you mist it 6 times a day until the surface is sitting in water. Or you forget about it and the surface dries into a crust. Both of those stall your pins. The mental shift is simple. Humidity is about moisture in the air, not water on the block. You're trying to keep the air around it damp, not soak the substrate underneath. So mist the walls of your fruiting chamber and the air, not the mushroom block itself. And watch for this. Condensation is not the same as good humidity. If you see big beads of water running down the walls, that usually means the air is stagnant and saturated, which actually points to poor air exchange, not great conditions. Misting the walls of a chamber and soaking the substrate are two completely different actions, and only one of them helps you. Aim for a surface that looks slightly damp and shiny, never dripping and never bone dry. The weird thing is, your mushroom block is not really asking for attention, it's asking for the right conditions, and those are not the same thing. Which leads to mistake number 5, getting fresh air wrong on both ends. Too much fresh air too early, then not enough later. During colonization, people fan and open the block constantly because they assume air is always good. It isn't, not yet. Then, during fruiting, they seal everything up to protect the humidity, and the mushrooms come out with long, skinny stems and tiny caps. That shape is a message. Those leggy stems are your block telling you the carbon dioxide is too high, and it's stretching toward fresh air that isn't there. So read the mushroom like a gauge. Long stems and small caps mean fan more often. And the part that surprises people, carbon dioxide is heavier than air, so it pools at the bottom of your chamber, which is exactly where your block usually sits. A quick fan a couple of times a day clears it out far better than leaving a tiny vent cracked open.
By now, your block is doing genuinely strange things, and that sets up mistake number 6, panicking over completely normal mycelium behavior. This is the one that makes people throw away perfectly healthy grows. You see a patch of fluffy, cottony white growth and assume it's mold. You see ropey strands or little amber droplets beating on the surface, and you panic. All 3 of those are usually normal. Fluffy aerial mycelium, ropey rhizomorphs, and those small metabolite droplets are signs of an active, living block. The reason beginners panic is fear of wasting that first grow, so anything unfamiliar reads as a disaster. So how do you actually tell? Use your nose first. A healthy block smells fresh and mushroomy. A contaminated one smells sour, sharp, or flat-out foul. Then use your eyes for spreading patches of green, black, or gray dust. Now, one more thing worth knowing, because it trips up almost everyone. When you press the white surface and it darkens into a bluish or grayish bruise, that's just a physical reaction to handling. It's smooth and it stays put. The green mold beginners confuse it with is fuzzy, powdery, and creeps outward over days. Bruising stays where you touched it. Mold moves. That brings us to the last one, and it's the quiet killer. Mistake number 7 is ignoring temperature swings, hidden contamination risks, and timing. Beginners obsess over hitting one perfect temperature reading, but a single number on a thermometer tells you almost nothing. What actually matters is stability across the whole day. A block on a windowsill might be warm at noon and cold by midnight, and that daily swing stresses the mycelium far more than sitting a few degrees off some ideal number. It can stall pinning or trigger pins and then abort them. So pick a thermally boring spot, away from windows, heating vents, and the warm exhaust of electronics. The risks you can't see live in the gear you reuse. A dirty mister, a container that got reused without ever being sanitized, a damp towel that's been sitting around growing its own colony. And then there's timing. A lot of first grows that look stalled are simply not done yet. Pins can take 1 to 2 weeks to show up after you switch to fruiting conditions, and that wait feels like failure when you're staring at a bare block every day. Patience is a real technique here, not a personality trait. Give it stable conditions,
Then give it time, and check it a few times across the day instead of hovering over it.
So here's what I want you to walk away with. Week 1 is mostly about restraint, setup, and watching closely. The beginners who fail are almost never actually failing. They're overhelping. They're misting too much, fanning too early, opening too soon, and reacting to every strange thing the block does. If your grow looks weird right now, slow down, smell it, watch it for a day, and fight the urge to fix something that was never broken. You're not raising a houseplant, you're running a tiny climate, and your main job in week 1 is to leave it alone enough to do its thing. If this video is informative, then comment yes. That motivates us to produce more videos like this.